So these days I'm using Linux more so than Windows, but there's still things in Windows that occasionally I like to use some professional software. So what I find is I have to like reboot my computer in Windows and do certain things, and then I have to go to my other computer or somehow network in certain things coming from the other computer so I can still do them on the first computer. And it's just a little bit annoying. I just want to be able to sit in one place. And I never saw myself as someone who'd ever use virtual machines, but there's been a little adventure I've had for a little over a week getting the virtual machines going. And it turns out that even my older Fedora Core 34 has a lot of these tools built into it, and I had installed various development stuff, and it was in the set of things that I had already. Yeah, so the way it all gets sort of complicated, but the way it works is I can't record directly off the screen because the audio isn't going through what Linux understands, it's going through what the other things. So here's like one desktop here, going over to the other one, and here we have the emulator running. I just go into full screen here, okay? And what happened was I was getting crackly sound today, and I spent hours and hours going over it, and I found out there's certain other BIOS options that I didn't enable that I think make it so that they can transfer information on a certain level or something. It makes it work better at any rate. So what happened here is I have, the special card I have with these, you can make your own effects. So I make my own effects line. In this case, I have the other sound card going in. I have the synthesizer, it all mixes up, goes through some graphic equalizers. Mostly it's going through some graphic equalizers so that I can make it some other stuff, but that's mostly useful in that terms. So it's been a long time. This KX project here, only in 32-bit does the onboard synthesizer work, but the synthesizer is really, it uses sound fonts, and I guess you could use it. Personally, I don't see how I'd like get that much application for what I want to do. But for example, here's some MIDI file here. Let's see if I can find one more exciting. Yes, here we go. So I'm going to play. Where's play? Here we go. So over here, this is showing the internals of what's going on. And I guess it's tracking over, like, those are its, I don't know, it's slots for doing whatever it's doing. And I guess it's just going by the slots and, doing whatever it's doing. I don't know the exact reasons why. But yeah, that hasn't worked since 32-bit Windows. This is a 32-bit Windows being emulated right now. Yeah, so this is really impressive, and this is going to be a lot more useful than I was expecting. Anyway, I'll just get out of here, and here's some other music software. So, like I say, it's just the output. Yes, let's see what's going on here, and we'll play. So what happened to me is that apparently what I'm using here is I'm using a sound card that I wanted that did all this, and so the drivers directly talk to the sound card through its hardware in its own kind of world, right? So I had to unhook everything in a group on my computer. And there's several things in the group, like the Ethernet controller. So when I do this, I sort of degrade my computer. Certain things don't exist, so I had to use like a wireless dongle because the network card no longer works when I do this. So, at a point where it still basically functions, but I have to restart the computer. If I want full functionality, I'll have to restart the computer and not be like in here. But it basically works. I have it all down now to a workable state. And also, in this world here, it doesn't really, there are channels to go back to your own file system, but I was thinking about it, and But I use this networking and Windows shares to make a common place for working on things between systems. So over here, this particular router, what it's doing a few things for me. And what it does is when the cellular is in a slow state, I have two cellular plans, two devices here. When the cellular is in a slow state, this thing downloads at a slow speed all the time as the other plan is used for browsing, right? The other thing it does is, so it uses a proxy, so it's kind of has its own environment with its own path out. When I use a proxy, it's from its world, and it goes through the slow link. And also, what it's doing in this case is it's serving the other computers. The other computer is on its file system, like this computer here, right? My main computer is on its local file system, or mounted. We call it mounted on its local file system, and then shared. So then it's shared back. So this thing is bouncing the other thing's drive, and this thing here, for some reason, it doesn't. It's just not the way the network works. That it will mount itself from itself. It'll have to go through the network, so it's bouncing off another network host, right? Yeah, so I'm sort of strapped very close to the bandwidth that stuff comes in at to be doing this. But again, this is coming from, it's being shared from my computer to that router over there, and then it comes back to this computer, and this is playing in, this is in the virtual machine, playing through my sound card's equalizer. So this is an ASUS router, which is its sole function is to connect two cellular devices through their USB to the local network here. So that's what happens is this thing is devoted. And actually, I assigned two LEDs here, so whenever one of the two things is working, you can see the activity on the lights on the top using OpenWRT. So it's very convenient. Okay, so there's a few things I was going to mention that I didn't mention in the video, and I'll mention them really quickly. Is that a lot of these cards, a lot of these things in the past I've liked to use have, for example, PCI slots, and PCI slots are dying breed, and they should be because they're inferior to PCI Express slots. But unfortunately, the AutoG Live, which use the KX Project driver, do use PCI slots, and I've specifically got this motherboard for my Ryzen 1, which I then upgraded to a Ryzen 2 because it turned out it had bugs in its microcode, so I had to turn it into a Ryzen 2. But it's worked happily since then, and here. These two PCI slots, the graphic card goes over this one, so that one's out. So the sound card goes into the PCI slot there. And it turns out that when I do this thing, these things disappear from the system, so I have to put my hard drives in these two connectors here, which I did. That's no problem. And also, I spent several days trying to find a VM virtual machine thing that does PCI Pasture, which then allows you to hook the virtual devices, certain cards, into the virtual machine. And it turned out that I already had it because it was installed with some development stuff. It's this QEMU. This is a front end, the virtual machine manager here. And let's see, here's some specifications. You see I've added here these are the host PCI device. I've added them. And see, is there any other customizations I've done here? I don't think there's too many customizations, but anyway, it works just swell.